Hi, I'm Lori with To the Trade from Interior Design Community, and I have a very special guest, Fiona Grunwald, who I adore. Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Lori. First of all, I have been a huge fan. I've been following along with all of these different podcasts and have got so much information. So I feel really privileged to be here and part of this podcast journey. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. It's been exciting. Now officially in our second season of the podcast, which is very exciting. And we're actually upping our game, trying to get some more podcasts in for you this year. And we thought you'd be a fantastic guest because you have had such an interesting journey. So you are obviously from Ireland and came here to the United States and are practicing design. How did you start that journey? What was the catalyst for coming to the United States and practicing here?
Sure. So for everyone out there, hi, I'm Fiona. My business is Design by Conway, and I do lighting design. This is my encore career. So this is my second go round. My business is pretty new. I'll be 2 years old in February, but I'm not young. I'm 54 years old. So I have this, as I say, this is my second career. I started in Ireland. I did my degree in psychology, and then I spent 20 plus years in corporate human resources. I traveled around the world and lived in different countries, and I had, a great work life experience. I moved to the US, met with my husband is American, so moved here, had my daughter, she's 16 now. And during the time, and I was very fortunate enough to be able to take time to be a mom and to spend that time with her. But as years went on, I really started to tap back into my creative side. So I love lighting. It's just been something that I have found hugely transformational in any space. And albeit I love the design element, interior design, I was always collecting beautiful pieces from different parts of the world. I really found lighting to be the most pivotal element in any space. So I decided to go back to school. I wanted to learn more. I was trying to figure out where would be the right course and the right location to get more information. So I found the Designer Society of America, which was incredible. So I wanted to have like a baseline for interior design. So I did a couple of their courses through the of Cincinnati, and then continued on more lighting
And by the
education.
way, they are fantastic. Interior Design Community has been a partner of Designer Society of America. They make design education accessible for second
Yeah.
career designers like you, but also designers are of different economic backgrounds because it's an accessible education. It's not as expensive, but it's very thorough. It's very
Yeah.
thorough. And they have their residential interior design certification, which is fantastic. I actually just talked to Natasha today.
Oh, fantastic. She's
Yeah.
fabulous. I mean, she has
Yes.
just pulled the gates apart and is welcoming everybody into the interior design community. And the RIDQC is their equivalent of the residential NCIDQ exam. And I love it. I think it's fantastic and I recommend it. And there is
Ex-
no gatekeeping, which to me
Right.
is phenomenal. That's the key to the castle. So, American Lighting Association, that's where I got my lighting specialist qualification. And then from there, I mean, I've really just been growing, learning, doing. I mean, I guess that's the
Yeah.
balance,
The
right?
science and
Learn.
design too. You had that
Yeah.
certificate, science and design certification too. So neuroaesthetics, that
Yeah.
certification also, which is such a big part of lighting design. What made you specify, like, why was specialized just in lighting? Are very talented. I mean, obviously, you could do anything you wanted to in the world of design. So, what was it that called you to do lighting?
I think for me, it was my own space originally, like changing out lights in my own space and understanding how different it made my environment and rooms feel. I mean, it was just, I felt I could go from X to Y, and it was lighting that really made the difference. I think I also realized how different each of us are in terms of our relationship to lighting. It's so personal. I mean, your eyes are pretty much like your fingerprint. Everybody is so different. Everybody relates to lighting differently. And it's really personal. So I found it really fascinating to try to marry what somebody really needs and wants. And they may not necessarily know what that is. Not everybody knows what their ideal environment is. They know what they don't like, but they don't necessarily know what they would like. So it's really trying to find that piece of the puzzle for clients to have a lighting reality that makes most sense for them. We have so many different elements within ourselves. There's so many people who are neurodiverse, who have all sorts of different challenges in terms of their eyes. But, as you're getting older, I myself included, I mean, light affects me differently than even my husband, who's 5 years older than me. So each of us have a really different reality when it comes to lighting. And like, that's fascinating for me. And I really think it's so important for our health and our well-being to be in a space that's enveloping and comforting and glare free, that makes us feel good, that we can see well when we need to. And lighting is a massive tool that I wish more people could lean into and tap into in terms of their designing their space.
Sure. Do you envision working with directly with clients with this business, or are you working more with interior designers or working more commercial? How is that leaning right now? Of course, that can change. You know, that's
It
the
is
way our
it
businesses
is
work. Right?
changing. Honestly, it's kind of meandering. I feel like it's a stepping
Sure.
stone. I very clearly, stamped residential interior lighting design on my website. And if you'd asked me a year ago, that's what I would have said. But that's not but I think the universe is telling me something differently, because I had a commercial project this past couple of months, which was from a wonderful architect designer who really wanted somebody to concentrate on lighting hallways for, a series of 8 apartment complexes. And it's not easy when you're an interior designer and you've got this huge, like, amount of different elements to do, to control,
Right.
to work on. And if you have a space that's more complicated, I feel that's when I've had the question, hey, can you help me on this? Or hey, is this something that you can give me more insight in? And I'm new. I mean, I have not been around the lighting block for 50 years, but my attitude has always been, if I don't know it, I have the resources, I know where to go to find the answer. So I'm here to help. I may have to fly off to a different direction to get that help, but I will figure it out. And that's really served me, because I think not, you can't know everything. I mean, nobody out there knows everything. And I
And
think,
everything so much changes per year anyway,
I mean,
honestly. And
lighting has changed so much in such a short space of time, which is why it's so
sure.
challenging for so many people and so many designers, because like, it's a moving feast. So I think even having the attitude of, come talk to me, I'll figure it out. If I don't know what it is, I'll, figure a pathway to make it work. So I think that served me. And it's also kind of opening doors and opportunities. And there is a potential project coming up in the new year, which commercial, which is potentially lighting a restaurant. So, I mean, that's like way off my residential interior lighting stamp that I kind of started off with at the beginning of last year. So,
Well, I think that I probably, if I were talking to you even last year, I would have said, if you're going to go into lighting design, commercial would probably be the low hanging fruit, because those projects tend to hire an individual lighting designer, whereas a
yeah,
residential interior designer would probably plan some of that lighting themselves. And
yeah,
so it is a little bit easier because the projects tend to be bigger, and you might have an easier time getting those projects and getting the proper amount of money for the project that you need to
yeah.
support a business. So
I,
I think it's interesting that you're going in that direction. And I do think it's kind of interesting that you have the passion and interest in the residential field,
mm,
because you are probably bringing much more interesting choices to those projects, because you already know the residential product lines so
Yeah,
well. So you know what you're looking for. You know the looks that you really, the sexy looks you want, which
totally.
an apartment building might not be thinking about, but then wow, it would be so great to have. And does lighting is the jewelry in the room and can absolutely affect the overall product and how it sells, how it is
Yeah,
viewed by the
like,
consumer. So I
totally.
think it's smart that you have that base knowledge in residential, but are able to use it on the commercial setting too, because you're getting kind of the best of both worlds. The product lines that are offered through,
Yeah.
residential, and the knowledge of that comes with that, and then the projects that exist in them
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
commercial space.
I
Yeah,
mean, honestly, my love is residential because I
sure,
feel that
sure,
there's a huge opportunity. That's where there's a lot less focus. There's so many people who are focusing on commercial and some
sure,
really great lighting designers. I mean, there's a lot of really great professionals out there working in the commercial space. I feel in the residential area, you've got like lighting sometimes falls beneath the cracks. And
it
it's
does.
because the architectural piece is done by one party, not necessarily by a designer. And then the decorative pieces potentially by somebody else. So not always do you have a situation where somebody's looking at the whole home or the whole lighting environment. And I think that's where things can fall through the cracks. So are you
Sure,
looking at the overall picture? Are you taking the architectural elements into consideration? Do they work in conjunction with what decorative fixtures that you've picked? Are they creating the right end result for that person who,
sure.
and they're all
And
different.
honestly, when it gets installed too, I was just talking to that integrator I'm going to be mentioning to you later, who was saying it's terrible to have to like punch holes in the ceiling
Yeah.
after all this beautiful millwork was
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
I wasn't pulled into the
Absolutely.
project early enough. I wasn't, you
Absolutely.
know, and so that's another key with your lighting designers, especially if you're out there listening as a residential interior designer, contact your lighting specialist, contact your lighting designer early in the
Yeah.
process so that
Absolutely.
before that beautiful millwork goes up in your ceiling. I'm looking at my paneling up in my ceiling right now, and it's if before you do that, you can have those installed,
Mhm.
right away. And this is a perfect example. I have terrible lighting in this room because they had put in this beautiful paneled ceiling, and they didn't want to probably disturb that by punching in holes to put in can lights or all
Mhm.
the lighting that needed to come into this room. So it's so needed and I love it. How are you addressing because you love the residential side, how are you and you've gotten into the neuroscience and design, what role has that played into your lighting plans? Like how are you presenting that to the design clients?
So it's funny because I think lighting in general is changing. I mean, obviously the quality of light, LEDs, etc., but even the design elements are changing. So it isn't any longer if you do reach out to a lighting designer, they're not coming along with your four recessed lights in the ceiling and the one, pendant in the center. They're not lighting like that anymore. That's old school. I mean, you really are using these fixtures to do a job. So if something's going in your ceiling, it's there for a purpose. It's lighting up an architectural feature. It's there because it's doing a job of some sort. It's washing a wall. It's there for a reason. It's not just and fixtures are expensive. Recess fixtures, good fixtures are an investment. So they need to be there for a reason. And I think that's changed. So symmetry doesn't necessarily have to be at play anymore. You're not looking just to put two on the right and two on the left. You're looking for a proper plan to properly light up the space where it's needed. And it doesn't always have to be just the architectural piece, which is why the decorative elements come into play. So architectural is one piece, whatever's in the ceiling, but then what's happening elsewhere? Layered lighting, I mean, obviously everybody's using the word layered lighting, but it's really important because they all add up to that whole lighting scene or that feel that you get when you enter a room. And I think what's happening in some instances on the residential side is that, the lighting, if there is a lighting designer or somebody who's worked with the architect early on, they're out of the picture by the time those plans go to the contractor or go to, in some cases, the electrician. What's being spec'd isn't necessarily what's being put into place. So you have an electrician who's got specs, who's got products that they want to buy, and maybe they're not available, or maybe they think, oh, I can pick a better product that's cheaper. And the original lighting plan, maybe if there was one, is totally different when it comes to what actually gets put into place. And I'm seeing so much of that where the electrician is taking the onus, or the contractor is taking the onus of making a decision on what that product is, which is why you're seeing so many pancake lights, wafer lights, those thin surface ceiling lights in place of old traditional recessed lights where the light is up further into the fixture. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm in McLean, Virginia, and like the average house price around here is like it's millions. Like we're talking really high end homes, a lot built by custom builders. And I'm seeing more and more of these inexpensive. They're less than $20 a pop. Um, Uber easy to install, uber glary. So if your eyes are sensitive to glare, then these are going to kill you altogether. They basically don't push the light source downwards. There's no beam spread. They are literally sitting on that ceiling. So I had a client this past year say, I don't know what to do with my space. They had a big renovation, beautiful custom cabinetry, new floors, everything was fabulous. I look up in the ceiling and there is these wafer lights, I mean, everywhere, because in order for them to light the space, they need to put more of them in, which
Sure.
so counterintuitive. And what's
Wow.
worse is some of them have different color temperatures within the light source. So this was toggled up to over 4,000 Kelvin, which was like bright, high intensity, and uber glary. So things like that break my heart because you kind of feel, wow, no wonder you're having issues with your environment, with your eyes, with your headache, with lots of
Right.
things. And you don't necessarily understand that that is what's causing it, but you just know that it's not you just don't feel good in the space.
Right.
So they're like really residential, honestly. I mean, I have had a lot of people question, why would you do residential? What's the benefit? I mean, the beginning onus for me was decorative, that jewel, that beautiful piece of lighting. I mean, that's what draws you in. That's what is
Sure.
fabulous in every space. But honestly, when you start the journey of lighting and start to understand all of the different elements that are are part of this bigger picture, you realize that you can have that jewel, but if that horrible glary light is sitting up there behind it, it's not going to help your jewel. It's not going to help your lighting. It's not going to give you the effect that you want at the back end. So yeah, it's the whole picture that has really made it like fascinating, I guess, for me, and made it an area in a space that I just want to learn more, do more, learn more, do more.
Well, it's
It's really
exciting to see you get into this space because there are so many designers that have not specialized to this degree. And it'd be wonderful to have a go-to resource that cares so passionately about the world of interior design, but also cares as passionately, if not more, about the lighting journey that a client would have in a residential space. And that's a lot of different factors now because of color temperature,
yes.
quality of light, and then
Mhm.
also automation that
Yeah.
that we can throw into that mix. And there are a lot of valuables in a person's home that is a multi-million dollar home. You might have very, very beautiful pieces of art. You may have really expensive furnishings,
Yes.
and caring about the light that's coming in through the window and the light that is in your environment is very
Mhm.
important and should be a thought of plan.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
Earlier, we were talking about the new standard of light and how designers are seeing the standard of light. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. So, as a designer, you're constantly hearing, or you would have been hearing about CRI, and that's something that's been around since the 70s. It's a tool that we've been using to see how our color is translating in a space. So, is this light going to give us the proper color rendering that we need? But things have changed. That particular tool was developed using 8 color samples, so 8 pastel color samples at that. And it really isn't giving us a true reflection of colors and how we're using them today or how they're going to perform under these new LED lights that are coming into the market. So, a tool which I think is incredible and I'm really starting to delve into called TM30 has been developed and it's come from the IES, oh God, I'm going to all these acronyms,
Right.
Illuminating Engineering Society.
Yes,
And it
illuminating
has
engineering society.
illuminating
Sounds
engineering side. There's so many
sounds like
acronyms.
a Harry Potter thing.
This society, and there was a council, and I've met one of the individuals. He's actually written a book, which I have to remember to mention, to basically really fill that gap to help designers who are picking various different colors to show them how they will work, how they will perform under a specific light. So this TM30 report gives you a really clear indication if you know what colors you're using, how that color is going to perform. Manufacturers are producing this graph, and it is something that's there included with a lot of specs. If it isn't, then it is something that you should request from your manufacturer and get that TM30 report so you can see how that color that you're choosing or that group of colors that you're choosing are going to perform under this tool. And that's key. I mean, that's a huge deal when you know what you want to get in the back end of a design in terms of color and it doesn't work out because of the color temperature or the intensity of light or I mean, it's so frustrating. So to have all of that information at the get-go and know what type of light is going to go into that space and know how that light is going to interact with your color choices, how that color is going to perform, that's massive. I think that's a huge tool for designers. And I
Huge.
don't see it enough out there in the ether. I don't hear people talking about it. I don't see, people using it. I do have heard color experts talking about it, but not interior designers. So it's definitely something that I think we need to get more exposure to and get a greater understanding of how we can utilize.
Yes, and I think that will also help us be able to describe it and translate
Mm.
that information to clients because
Yeah.
often we're faced with why would this cost? Why are you thinking about this?
Mhm.
Well, these are the science backed reasons
Yes.
why
Yeah.
we care about this your lighting journey through your home. I mean, it's really going to affect your sleep and your mood and your,
Yeah.
if you have migraines, all of these difficult problems that arise from poor lighting.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
how
Totally.
about how are you up and I'm sure of this, but how are you also implementing any home automation features in the lighting journey for clients?
So it's funny because I have, there's so many options now when it comes to home
Sure.
automation. I mean, you can be as simple as you could go around my house, everything pops on at like 5 p.m. And then, she pops off in 6 a.m. in the morning. So I have different things in my home that are automated, but they're not lighting controls. They're, plugs that have timers on them, or they're bulbs that are tunable. So there's lots of options for people. Lighting controls and a controlled environment or an automated environment can be really expensive. So if you are a homeowner who can afford to put in Lutron or Control 4, then that's fantastic. But it certainly isn't accessible for most people. It's not something that a lot of people can afford and possibly don't need. So there are so many things, so many tools that are out in the marketplace. In fact, I saw one recently. I saw a bulb that has a battery piece to it. So if your electricity goes out, it's basically on for an additional 3 hours. I mean, there's so many things that are like,
Oh,
what
great.
the it's like, there's just so many things. So if you're in a position to invest and you feel that you want that flexibility, you want to have that control, you want to create moods, scenes within your home, then I mean, yeah, everything is there for you to avail of that. But if you want to have an element of control without the investment, you can certainly do that on a shoestring budget. There's so many options.
Sure, sure. I will say that there are, I just in the research that my husband did because he's very into technology. He prefers, if you're going the inexpensive route, the iHome
Mm,
sort of the Apple version versus like going with Amazon's version because of the security issues
yeah.
that come
Yeah.
from that. So thinking about that, but we do set scenes in our own home, like things turn
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
at certain times, things turn off at certain times, the blinds go up at certain times, the blinds go down. And it is very, it starts to set your day that way too.
Yeah.
The lighting kind of coming up gently. It just makes you feel
Yes.
like you're waking up in a much happier mood. It really does. I respond to it. And
Hmm.
it's changing because I live in New England where now it's getting dark. It gets dark at 3 o'clock in the
Yeah.
afternoon. you
Yeah.
know? So to have the lighting changing around me is really important for my own mental health too. So, I
Yeah.
mean, seasonal depression, and I'm sure a lot of people in New
Absolutely.
England are dealing with that right now.
Mhm.
And having access to and that education is really super important and really helping people live better lives. And I love that that's something that you're passionate about because in commercial it's so much more straightforward of like, lighting for task
Mm,
oriented rather
yeah.
than it's how somebody is living in their home all day long, and or all
Yeah.
night long and needs that
Yeah.
experience to improve the quality of their life. So I
Absolutely.
I think that's fantastic.
And it's kind of interesting because I was at a design forward event in High Point. High Point After Dark had put this event together to designing for inclusivity. And there was a lighting designer, Greg Barrett, who was there, who was talking about his kids. And he has two neurodiverse children, and he was talking about his personal experience. In fact, each of the speakers were there because they had family members or experience working with people who had specific needs that they had to design around. And he spoke to, the LED colored lights. And, I mean, you kind of think LED colored lights, who's going to use them? What do they do? The teens use them, but who else uses LED colored lights? And he was saying in his instance, for his kids or somebody who needs their central nervous system to calm down, that blue light is really impactful. So sometimes it's, your personal experiences, your personal health, it's your family, it's your living environment that really, really it helps you and helps others to figure out what it is that you need as an individual to exist in a better way. I mean, whether it's SAD, whether it's any condition that like really affects your well-being, it's so important to get a solution. It's so
Yeah.
important, the educational knowledge and marrying the two together. It's like, talking the talk and walking the walk. So to have a lighting designer come to talk about dealing with people with neurodiverse issues is just really impactful. Like, so it's definitely an area that I think in terms of health and well-being, so many are leaning into because it's so important. There's so many people who've been suffering for so long, and
Sure.
see solutions or at least acknowledgement of all the different issues that are there, I think is really is great. I'm really I'm just impressed by it.
Right. And the options too, as far as, and this could be a great question too, is how are you approaching the balance between, you know, aesthetically pleasing lights versus the functionality lighting that really needs to happen for those things to exist?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, the most fascinating thing for me is how individual lighting is. The experience of lighting is for everybody. I mean, your eyes are pretty much like your fingerprints. I mean, it's so unique. And lighting a room for a 20-year-old versus a 6-year-old is like chalk and cheese. Like it's totally different. That 6-year-old need twice as much lighting in that area than that 20-year-old. They also need less glare because your eyes change over time. So you can't take as much glare as your younger eye would have done. And you can't have as much contrast. So you don't want to increase the task lighting necessarily and decrease the ambient lighting. So you're really taking all of the lighting levels up so that there's not a huge difference in contrast. There's so many different elements depending on the individual, depending on what their eyes say. And half the challenge is trying to figure out what what they need in terms of their sight. We don't always know what's most comfortable for us. It's like in design, not everybody knows what they like. They may know what they don't like, but it's getting to the bottom of what people want to feel and see in their space. And that's kind of the hardest part, is getting that information, understanding, how do you see and how do you want to see and what's comfortable for you. And also then you've got more than one person generally in a home. So you're really trying to come up with solutions that suit everybody. And maybe that's designated spaces. Maybe that's your space because you need some downtime and you need to shut that door and you need very low light. Or maybe it's I need to work and I need higher intensity light and I need a higher color temperature. So, it very much depends on the individual, the family, the spaces that they have and what types of spaces they want to create for what purpose.
Right. And are you finding that you're getting any pushback from the your collaborative partners, your electricians, your contractors, about creating this kind of environment for the clients? Are they buying in? Are they getting it?
So it's funny because no, not it depends.
Right.
It depends.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've had some conversations about these, pancake layered lights in the ceiling, and that's like, what's wrong with them? There's nothing wrong with them. I don't see any issue with them. And then I've also had pushback too. So, in bathrooms, for example, it very much depends on what the client is looking for. So I have a client at the moment who has beautiful home that was built in the 1950s, fantastic art collection, wants to put a piece of art in his bathroom. So he's divorced by himself, not looking in his mirror, putting on makeup. He wants something that highlights his art and looks beautiful in his space. So we know that putting light on either side of a mirror is, giving you the best illumination for your face. But in this case, we're putting a piece of art there. So if the light's going to go over the mirror, it's not going to have the same effect on his face. He doesn't care. I don't care because I think it's going to look beautiful. His art is going to look beautiful and it works for him. And it's the same in my own space. I don't want a big, bright, booming light when I walk into my bathroom. It's not where I do my makeup. It's not what I want to see. I want a comfortable light. So I have something that's very muted in my bathroom. So everybody, again, I mean, the rules are there and I think they're important. And I think people need to understand what they are. That doesn't mean to say that they always have to be followed or that they can't be, maneuvered depending on the
Good.
circumstance.
Shush it a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Shush
We're
it.
not one size fits all. And I think that's the beauty of us. And that is the beauty, honestly. The other reason why residential is such an opportunity is the beauty of the residential space, because a lot of what we're seeing is same, same, same.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like
Yes.
rinse, repeat. And that drives me nuts because there is no imagination, there's no differentiation. And even in the light fixtures, I mean, the world is a big place. There's so many beautiful options. And it doesn't have to be one note, one tone, one manufacturer, one brand. I mean, it can be so many different things. And it kind of pains me to see, bad lighting, same, same, same. And like you're walking into a catalog that's from the same, brand or manufacturer. It's lovely to see different and personality. And I think that's mirroring the personality and the client with the space is just really important.
Have you been working with any integrators? Yeah.
So I have, when I was in Ohio, yes, I had one really good experience with an integrator and a company who I partnered with to do lighting controls within a renovated home, which opened my eyes a lot in terms of the potential for what lighting controls can do in conjunction with other things. I mean, generally, when you're talking about home automation, you're bringing in other elements, security, you're bringing in heating, you're bringing in, audiovisual. So it's not I mean, the equipment is not a small investment. So actually adding other elements to the investment makes sense. But yeah, it's not something I have delved into in this past year.
Yeah. I think that that will be the key is finding, at least in the luxury home space, finding quality integrators that work with interior designers to implement some of these plans because, most of the lighting plans should be working with an automated system or would be working with an automated system. And there's just so many elements to it. I mean,
Yeah,
like you said, it goes beyond lighting design and there's just there and there aren't very many that understand how designers work either.
no, and
So
I do feel that some of the integration companies, especially around here, are taking on the role of lighting design, which is kind of
right,
interesting. And in some ways, that's good, depending on where they're going to for the resource of that lighting design. So, are they following tried and tested old, like the usual, or are they going to a lighting designer? Are they going to a lighting design resource? And where is that education and information coming from? Because traditionally they came into the area with audiovisual, where and everything is starting to go under that roof. So I think integrators are uber important, and you're obviously seeing more and more of them, and I like the fact that they're getting more assertive in terms of all home automation. That's just another element at play, is to make sure that that design element is is really taken care of when it comes to the lighting control piece.
sure, sure. But you're right. I mean, are they attending shows like High Point, for instance? No, no.
Mm.
They're more going to the commercial
Yeah,
tech, tech kind of
yeah,
conferences, and that's
yeah.
where they're getting product knowledge. That's where they're getting information, and so they wouldn't have access to the same products that you would from or the same product knowledge that you would have from the residential standpoint. Do you think that the clients are, so far, the clients that you're working with, are they understanding the impact that lighting has in their well being? Are they getting it?
I think it's becoming to be more prevalent.
Right.
I don't think it's something that's necessarily intuitive. I don't think it's something that's being spoken about enough. I think we know that, more light, natural light is huge, that we're spending so much more time indoors, and that we need to provide a better indoor lighting environment. But when it comes to homes, I think people are still hesitant to like really push for what they need. I mean, they'll choose their restaurant based on lighting. They'll choose a hotel to go to and stay to because it's beautiful for lighting. But when it comes to their own homes, they're still sometimes like, hesitant to like push and lean into what it is that they really would like to see in their own home space. So really kind of getting into why it's important and how pivotal and how much it is such a huge element of the design process, I think is really needs to come from the designer and the builder, whomever it is that's working with this homeowner, to help them see that that big huge window is a really big advantage, or this really great light, that light might cost a lot of money and it looks like it's a not such a fantastic recess fixture, but is going to do a brilliant job. So it's kind of education in some ways. And I think people know when they walk into spaces what that they love a space. They don't necessarily always know why they love a space. So
Sure. It's a feeling, right? It's that
it's a feeling.
feeling
Yeah.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah. Like your
I
body
love it here.
body exactly. And you want to go back and you love it, but you don't necessarily articulate or can articulate clearly why it is. And sometimes
Sure.
it's just one thing, it's a combination of things, which I think when it comes to the science behind design, and when it comes to picking elements that, bring in biophilia or bring in elements that make us feel that wellness sense, is is really pivotal. Like it's a key to so many different areas where unconsciously we're not fully aware of why we love it, but we do love it.
Oh, we do. I mean, it makes a difference in people's lives, and
Yeah.
honestly, the investment of your home too. I mean, that
Yeah.
we're all putting a lot of money into our homes, no matter what you want to do today. So,
Yeah.
you know, caring about the lighting. I can tell you, my sister's a real estate agent, and she tells every client that goes and buys their house that they should change lighting. They should get
Yeah.
new lighting
Hmm.
when they're about to sell their house, because it's remarkable the difference if you are investing in
Well,
modern
totally.
lighting.
Totally.
It will actually impact the sale price of the home. People who do it and people who don't. She's tracked it. Like, she
No, people have
definitely
Google
tracked
Image.
it.
People have
Yes.
Google Image. They go into a home, they snap a pic, and they can tell exactly what that light fixture is.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
if you have builders or construction companies not making investment in lighting, they're not stupid. Like they can see
Big
it.
mistake. Big mistake.
It
Yeah,
is a huge mistake. Your lighting is
it
like
is.
your earnest bag. I mean, it's the
If you've got
equivalent.
your two, $3-4 million home and you've got Home Depot lights, it's not
I mean, it's
good.
not, I'm telling you, I've seen it.
Oh,
I've seen it and it's made
yeah,
me like, and I've been annoyed, like angry that this is what
yeah.
people are having to put up with and it's not good enough. So the
No,
more
no.
brand recognition, the more people understand or recognize when it comes to fixtures and lighting, I think the better it will be for everybody because there will be more of a push to get proper quality lighting in residential spaces.
That is fantastic. Well, we'll have one last really big question for you. In an ideal scenario, what what kinds of lighting do you think are the most impactful for a design client? If I'm starting from scratch, what are all the elements that you want me to have
Oh
in
my
your
God.
dream scenario? Like I'm gonna take you say yes to everything you tell me.
I have my dream client right this moment,
You
and
do. Oh,
I
that's
do, I
fantastic.
do, I really do, and it's kind of amazing. Residential, I think I mentioned divorced, living by himself, beautiful art collection, wants to, and very discerning in terms of how he wants to intentionally light his space. Doesn't want run of the mill, wants something different, pushing to have not necessarily everything custom, but wants to see different notes in different areas. So, and is willing to take risks. So I love that. So coming up with, so I ordered some lights from Ireland, Mullen Lighting
Yeah.
based in the north of Ireland. I love them. They will do anything custom. We have cobalt blue coming in. I think I mentioned the bathroom for the picture light and for fixtures over the mirrors. We're doing a really big grand design for over the stairwell. And it's pushing my creative like side, which I
Uh-huh.
love, but
Yeah.
it's creativeness married with the willingness to take a risk and trust. And I think it's the relationship that you develop. It's you either, it's like everything else, you either have a connectedness in a relationship with somebody and you go on a bit of a journey together, or you don't. And if you meet that person or that client and you feel that connectedness and they trust you and you trust them, then I mean, sky's the limit. So
Right.
this is wonderful for me. This is like such a great experience and not who I necessarily would have chosen. I had, okay, she's going to be a female, professional. My avatar was not this client, but this is my new avatar because it became like a dream, a dream, a dream.
I love that. And Fiona, we've had private conversations too where you are such a supporter of small unique businesses too, that
Yeah.
the lighting companies that no one,
Mhm.
they're not the general lighting company that
Yeah.
everybody knows, but
Yeah.
small makers,
Yeah.
small brands that are really doing innovative things and creating
Absolutely.
craftsmanship around light, which
Yeah.
is just so fantastic, because then you're getting, and I'm sure you've worked with it on custom pieces and all the whole thing, but to have someone invest in some of these really handcrafted pieces too,
Yeah.
and supporting those small businesses must feel really
Oh my
amazing and
gosh.
wonderful.
You asked a question, or a question was asked in the community about whether you take your design and bring it into your own home. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, and yeah. I mean, if you can start like digging into the different brands and start seeing how they perform in your own home, then I mean, that's fantastic. And I just installed, and I have yet to like take pictures of it, of a light that won the 2024 Pinnacle Award from Beacon Custom Lighting. And it's in my kitchen and it is
Well,
like freaking phenomenal. Like it is
I'm sure.
insane. It's insane. So there's so many different wonderful companies that are so willing to partner, that are happy to do different, that are happy to, talk about design, which is really, really, really important. And it's lovely to be able to tap into that and know that you can be different. And different doesn't always mean massively expensive. It really
Right.
isn't. It doesn't have
No.
to be.
No,
But
there are some amazing makers out there that are very reasonable
yes,
and you're supporting a small business, just like your small business for an interior
yeah,
designer. It's the same
yeah,
thing, and they're so excited to get that kind of business. So,
absolutely.
absolutely looking at those resources and finding them. They're always tricky to find, right? Because they're not at
Yeah,
the
we have
normal
a
shows, but
yeah.
digging
But
around.
you know what? High Point Market is such a resource. It's
It
such
is.
a, like, incredible mind-blowing resource. I mean, it just
I tell
blew.
every designer. I mean, I've been to almost every show you can possibly go to. I still favor High Point because it's first of all, it's massive. You can really get
Yeah,
anything you want done there. Any
yeah,
kind of business you want to get done there, you can.
yeah.
And the resources and the connections and the networking, leaving it every time I feel so good. I mean, it's
Oh,
just
incredible. It's
it's like
incredible.
going away to camp in some ways. Like you're seeing your friends,
Yeah,
you're having great conversations, you're
yes.
learning, you're networking, you're seeing new product, you're having all the eye candy, you're seeing all the new things that came out, you're
Yeah.
having great business discussions. It's like not to be missed, in my
No,
opinion.
no,
It's
no, no, no.
not
It
to be
really
missed.
is. It's a key to it. I mean, honestly, I set up my business and one of the first things I did, as green as grass as I was head to High Point because I knew I had my DSA qualification, I had my business certification, I went with my ALA qualification. I'm like, I am now going to High Point. And it just was pivotal for me. It opened so many doors, the relationships that you create and the resources that you can tap into is just, it's incredible. Like it's really, really enabling. And
Course. There are small makers there too. There are,
oh, totally,
shared youth spaces. There are
totally.
even bigger brands that pull in makers that,
Mhm.
there's just really, there are a lot of really amazing niche resources and very designer friendly
Yeah. Oh no.
resources
I,
that
I mean,
make
that's the mind blowing part is that irrespective of how new you are or how small you are, there's a welcome mat. I mean, everybody is looking for your business. They're looking for you to see their product. They want you to be educated on what they can bring to your spaces. So it's very giving. There's a lot of information. You can go there if you have a list of things that you need vendors for, and you can tick all of those boxes and come away knowing you've got a relationship, you've got products, you've got your account set up. I mean, it's just to me, yeah, it's incredible. It's
and I
been
love that it's there permanently so that
yeah,
I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time the spaces kind of stay the same. So where you can navigate easily. The
yeah,
app is
yeah,
fantastic. I think the app's the best in the business. So you can get to where you need to go fairly easily. I mean, if you're looking for walking directions or I
yeah.
will say walking is always faster. I don't care how many times
No, no,
people are
no.
like,
It is. I agree with you.
walking is so much faster. I don't care how many times I'm always later when I'm always late with my gosh.
Yeah, no, no. You can get anywhere faster for sure. The
Yeah.
first time
No.
I went, I did a new to market tour, so full all day new to market tour,
Yeah.
which I just thought was incredible. So, and
We're
that
gonna
was
be doing our own to this market
oh,
as well.
oh,
Have
that's
our own interior
fantastic.
design community new to market tour so that
Yes,
designers can come and they'll be led by a designer. They're gonna get to meet some really amazing
I
people. We're
love
setting it
that.
up now. Yes. And we already have some panels
Love
in the
that.
work.
Oh, I love it. That's
Totally nice.
brilliant.
Interior
That's
design
really
community is
cool.
gonna be there for you at High Point Market, I'm sure. Yes. Yes. And we're doing all the markets, I swear. We're doing Paris and Las Vegas and We're doing a show in Phoenix at Design Edge. You know Design
Yes.
Edge, you're on the
Oh my
board.
gosh.
Yes. So
I love Design Edge. I mean, they are
yes.
also because they're bringing brands to designers, which not
Sure.
everybody can get to High Point, but the fact that you get accessibility going to different locations is really valuable. And
Yeah.
it's incredible who's traveling with the different brands. Like you're seeing the owners and senior VPs, so senior leadership within the companies going to provide their expertise to be there to answer questions, and it's a real unique band. I can say, and I
Yes.
really am a
Yeah.
fan.
We're trying to put in a new plan where the designers will be able to have like a roundtable discussion. So a sit down, so a small roundtable discussion with like 5 or 6 designers and the senior leadership of those brands in the
Oh, I love
showroom
that.
itself. And then just, work your way around. You can sign up for, there are going to be 2 sessions in the morning, 2 sessions in the
I
afternoon,
love that.
very agenda driven. So
I
it'll
love.
be very, these are
Mhm.
the tasks, but the agenda we've decided that seems to be very interesting is how can the brand do better for the designer?
Yeah.
How can the designer work better with the brand? Where are the, you know, weak points, where are the ways that it's working well? What do we not want to touch? What do we want to break and fix? And then what are the collaborative opportunities
I love.
for a brand and a designer too? So are there Pinterest campaign contributions? Are there, blogging opportunities? Are there ways to share images so that designers can get, and photographers can get their images shared and, their products, that what their projects shared on that stage, the brands have a bigger audience, how
Yeah.
can these straggler, clients coming into the brand be leads for designers, things
Yeah.
that might be good collaborative opportunities from both ends and
Oh,
and how that could work together better. It's
yeah.
like we're all on the same side of the fence here. We're all trying to
It's
work
huge.
with luxury clients. It's like
Yeah.
having a meeting where we're discussing how can we work better together just seems so common sense. you
That
know,
that's huge. That's a big opportunity for
it is.
designers and
It
brands
is.
really sit
Oh,
together.
huge,
And these
huge, and
brands are
in a
like
constructive
traveling around
way.
the country. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
think it's and when we mentioned it in our community, and you're part of the private we have a private Facebook group that's much smaller than the Instagram. We mentioned it in that community, and every single person was like, would be a game changer to
Yeah,
have these
totally.
conversations."
Totally.
Because
For both
so
sides.
often at, high points, people are too busy for this kind of conversation where they
Yeah.
have half an hour to really like intensively talk about the topic and, you
Yeah.
know, and get some solution oriented, problems fixed,
Yeah.
because the brands are just as, as sometimes stretched, as we are. We're
Yeah.
all trying to, doggy paddle our way through this industry
No,
and we're
totally.
all, and it's sometimes it's that combined knowledge that
Yeah.
we all have that we are bringing different things to the table. I remember a designer years ago telling me that she had a conversation with a brand that they were European and they had manufactured sinks. And she said, you need a bigger sink in the United States. That's your problem. That's why you're not doing as well. So they took it to heart. They made a bigger sink and it became their biggest best
That
selling model that they've had. They came back and told her that was the best selling,
that's fab.
uh, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
it made, it makes the client happier. It
Mhm.
makes the designer happier, makes the brand happier if we all are sharing information and learning from one another.
Wow. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I'm going to Arizona, so
Well,
I will
you're
be there.
yeah, yeah, you will be there. You're gonna be on the mix of, designers
I
leading
will
our
be
conversation.
there and seeing all of this in motion. No, that's fantastic. I'm very excited to hear that.
Yes, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming. This has been so wonderful. I knew it would be. And we'll make sure that we direct everyone toward your website and look for a special article that Fiona and I are going to be writing together in Design and Technology magazine. So you're going to have to get our Technology Designer magazine. You're going to have to get your copy of Technology Designer because we will be writing something together about lighting, which will be really fun.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been fantastic.
Yay. Bye. Have a wonderful night.
Bye.